Special Monday night in-depth video discussion here. This might be a little longer than normal. I usually try to keep my videos under 5 minutes. Tonight might be a little bit over. We'll see because there's a lot going on. Right now we're in a spring pattern. It's warm out, the sun is strong, and everybody's thinking about May, June, July, and being back on the beach. And I'm here to tell you, well, yes, the seasons are changing, and it is going to be warmer than it was in February. But relative to averages, after this next 7 days, I'm expecting winter to have one last gasp. And when I say one last gasp, it doesn't mean that the whole eastern seaboard is going to see snow. Okay, so just to start off there, if we're looking at this region here, guys, right, I would think that winter's over. I think it's over. Well, Baltimore, Washington, winter's over. I don't see you getting any more snow. Okay, Philadelphia, even questionable. But New York City and say up to southern New England, I think you definitely have a shot. And absolutely New England, you guys have another at least 4 weeks of winter. So the target area over this discussion is really going to be, say, central Jersey on up into southern New England. Okay, can it snow again? And the cold weather is going to come. And when cold weather comes, and when you get the upper level features that I'm going to be discussing tonight, buckle up because things get interesting regardless of what other people are saying. So let's first start off with the system on the weekend, okay? Because I've been talking about this a little bit. And first off, I don't think it's going to snow in Philadelphia or maybe even New York City. But southern New England I'm worried about. So what we have going on here is, let's zoom in. We have a very active southern jet stream, okay? So it's going to throw some moisture into our area later this week. And then here comes our storm system for the weekend. Look at this high pressure system. It's a 1040 high. And it's backed up by an upper level pattern that would support high pressure. Okay, how do I know that? Well, look at the height lines here. See how these height lines from the south are converging with these height lines from the north? That's called confluence. And confluence supports the development of high pressure. And because of this vortex feature up here, just north of eastern Canada, you're going to have that high pressure stay pretty stubborn this weekend. So you can't just say it's going to be a rainstorm for everybody. That would be premature, okay? And the surface printouts on the models are telling you watch out because a 1040 high is very, very strong, okay? So as we head into the weekend, this is just a GFS model latest run. You can see it brings rain into the area and a little bit of light snow breaks out initially. What I think might end up happening is I do think it rains on here, but up here in northern counties, I think you definitely see some ice changing to rain. And up here, and again, northern Connecticut, Massachusetts, New York State, I think you see some snow out of this. And up here in Vermont, I think you get a lot of accumulating snow because, again, I think that high pressure is going to be pretty stubborn. The GFS shows the storm up in Vermont, but I think you bring this a little further south. That's my point. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about the weekend system. Let's get to the more important things now, which is the longer-term weather pattern. Okay, so if we go here and take a look at what's going to really develop over the next several weeks, there's a few things that I'd like to point out. Okay, so we're looking at height anomalies here, so I can show you where pockets of warm and cold air are. Okay, so this is over the weekend. Generally, again, this is the whole week actually heading up to the weekend. It's almost a zonal flow. Air's coming in off the Pacific. Notice there's no more ridge over Alaska, so you don't have that cold Arctic air drilling in. However, by the time we get to next week, and every single model is showing this, guys, I don't care if you look at the European, the Canadian, the GFS, the Japanese, I don't care what. But every model, and I'm going to go to the ensemble now just to try to increase the accuracy, every model by the time we get to say early to middle next week, look at this. They're building up the ridge over Alaska. When you build that ridge, you open up the door for Arctic air. And look at this. Notice the red over Greenland. It's developing a negative NAO, positive PNA, negative EPO, draw south the Aleutians. This is the perfect pattern if you want to see action mid to late March. Okay? The models don't lie, guys. And I'm going to show you some other... the models could lie, correction, but I'm going to show you some other reasons why I do not think the models are far off on this outcome. So as we head through the period, you can see they really start to develop a trough in the east, hold that ridge, and really, we have not seen this all winter. We have not seen blocking over Greenland and the Arctic all winter. This is the first time we're going to see these teleconnections go favorable for some action. So what happens is if you get a little piece of energy to cut underneath all this, it slows it down because the flow is clogged up because of this block, and you really get a consolidated storm system. I'll tell you the period I'm targeting in a minute, but you can see as we go through middle of March, it's not backing off. Okay, so this is March 24th, 25th, 26th, and I can go to every model. I go to the European, okay, I can go to the Canadian ensemble. They're all showing the same thing. Okay, so that brings me to the next point. When could there be a storm? Well, one thing I want to point you guys' attention to here is if you look out into the Pacific, okay, and we take the period back to current, there's actually a nice, decent storm system that's developing right now near Japan. And that storm system is going to curve out a little bit and go back into the Pacific. And what that can end up doing is that can really amplify things downstream, which again is going to support that ridge getting pumped up over Alaska. So that's another piece of the puzzle is, again, below normal heights or lower pressures over Japan, which tend to correlate to lower than normal pressures over the East Coast, say, a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks later, okay? On top of that, let's take a look at what the ensembles are showing for the negative NAO. Okay, this shows you the spread of all the different members, so you had negative NAO. And notice, by the time we get to the 16th out to the 22nd, you can see they're agreeing that this pattern is going to go negative. Now, I look for storms when this pattern starts to relax. So notice by the time we get, say, 20, 21st, 22nd, the NAO could go back to neutral. And that actually connects well with that typhoon I just showed you, okay? 6 to 10 days later would be, if I look right now, 7 days from now is the 16th. So figure, say 2 weeks from now is the 23rd, so a little bit before that, that's the 20th to the 22nd. So you got to look out for a possible storm system there somewhere in the eastern third of the country, say anywhere from the 19th to the 23rd. That's my point. Now, is it guaranteed to happen? I don't know. But the pattern's there, guys. I think that, you're going to notice for sure after this week, you're going to say, wait a second, what's going on here? And again, remember, I told you that there are drivers at play here, and at the end of the day, it really comes down to the oceans. Because the oceans are so warm in the Pacific, it supports a ridge. Okay, combine that with other things I'm talking about, and the models, again, I do not think are lying to us. So that's enough for now. I really rambled a lot tonight, but again, I'm very supportive of a pattern change after this week. I can't guarantee snow for Philadelphia, Washington, Baltimore, even New York City, but you're sure as heck going to have a better chance than in other years. Thanks for checking in. More as the days go on.